Hello, everyone. As always, I hope this finds you doing well, wherever that is. Just wanted to get another kind of quick message sent out to everyone, kind of just a general message to kind of touch base, take stock of things, kind of try and pull us together collectively as a group a little bit to look at where things are at, talk about where they're going, and then I'll speak to a few other things here. I will try to keep it short. I always say that. I never do it. I'm going to try again. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, um, sort of as I indicated, one of the things about reaching out in a general way like this is that the nature of this course, to a very large degree, we are a cohort. We are working together collectively through this, but we're also kind of not, right? All of you are doing your very own projects. They're very unique, completely individual, and so really the 99.9% of what I've been doing is working with you individually, on your project, on your writing, on your, whatever it is as it pertains directly to your project. But that amount of work, right, definitely goes back to, if you remember way the hell back with one of my first messages where I was saying, some people are going to want to work really closely, others not at all, and everything in between, and that is always the case, and that's always totally fine. And so right now there is like just the complete spectrum of possibilities. There's some of you all who are just turning stuff in via Canvas, and then I'll kind of shoot feedback or whatever it is, kind of your direction. And outside of that, we may have like zero actual interaction with one another, which is totally fine if that's your style. Then, of course, on the other end, the other extreme, there's some of you who I'm meeting with on Zoom, doing video meetings, sometimes multiples of times per week, really working through every bit, every step, all of the things about the project, and then there's everything in between that, and so that's all right. As you know, one of the big names of the game for, well, at least for this term, has kind of been this, trying to be as sort of flexible and accommodating and that as I can be for people, which for many of you I know has worked well, because life has asserted itself. Things with work, health, family, whatever the case may be. I know that having that flexibility has helped in a lot of situations, but I'm also aware too there's the other side of the coin where that kind of malleability within the course, it creates a little bit more uncertainty or anxiety around things, right? It's not this very structured linear thing where it's like you do this by this day and then you do this thing this day and so on. It doesn't kind of fit that delineated, online kind of course like you would get with 200 level, those sorts of things. So I'm kind of doing my best, right, to sort of shoot down the middle, try to meet everybody with where they're at and what they need. But it's difficult to do. There's a lot of you, there's a lot of projects and things that are kind of up in the air. So to give you sort of at least like a general perspective, even though there's all this variability, where we're at right now, if you're kind of keeping tabs, you're looking on the syllabus or you're looking within the modules and the way that they're laid out, even though we're not doing this strict adherence to 11:59 Sunday night, as I had said before, hopefully those are giving at least the guideposts where it's like this is where things ought to be. Whether you're ahead of that, behind that, or right on the nose, at least we kind of have a sense for this is where those things are at. One of the things that I wanted to emphasize, I guess, at this point, with all of that variability of where people are at with their projects, is that that's been fine, and it still is, but maybe you're noticing like we are kind of coming to what I would, I guess, characterize as like a bit of a bottleneck with the course, which is, ostensibly in the layout of things, we should be at the stage now where We're getting very definite methods put together. We have the tools or the experimental variables, or depending on your design. We're pretty much ready to put this thing together and get it out there. Like I said, some people are already gathering data, but those people are ahead of the curve. But because we're getting to this stage now where we really need to start looking at the implementation of the study, that means that, for those who are still further behind, that's all right, but we really have to maybe plant a flag here and say, okay, there's catching up to do and there's work that needs to be done, and we need to jump on it probably now, depending on how far back you are. So as I say, some folks are still back where there isn't even really a totally solid idea of how things are going to go and what it's going to look like and all of that. What I would say at this stage is, of course, as usual, I'm not going to interject myself into your life, your project, your things any more than you want me to. I'm not going to just start asserting myself. But I need for anybody out there who's in a position, you're stuck, you're at a stumbling block, there are hurdles ahead, you're not quite sure where to go. Probably what we need to do now is I'm going to need you to reach out and let me know, what are we going to do? Like, what are the next steps? Because we need to take those next steps at this point. So my suggestion, and that's all that it is, for especially the folks that are further behind on things, is let's start contemplating maybe doing some Zoom meetings, setting up some times to not just kind of chit chat and answer questions and that kind of thing, but to really sit down, take your work, lay it all out, and start to really look at actionable steps of how we can solidify these things, how we can get it put together, how we can get you to the place that we need you to be right around this time. Again, there's no obligation for Zoom meetings or anything like that. As I said, there's also phone, there's also email, there's also whatever. And if you prefer not to do those things, that's quite all right too. But I feel compelled to still at least try and, whatever shitty metaphor I used was, plant a flag here to say it is time to push down on that accelerator, whether that's with me or you doing it on your own. That's all good, but we do need to do that and look at that at this stage. None of this is meant to cause any additional stress or anxiety, hopefully. Hopefully it's quite the opposite, because as I'm saying, even if you're way behind and it seems like there's no catching up at this point, that's probably not true. We just really we've really got to buckle the hell down on it, and I'm here to do that. So even if this situation is bad and seems dire, hopefully this doesn't create stress. It lets you know that we have avenues. It's just that we have to approach those avenues. We got to do it now. So for what it's worth, right? Now, with that, what was the other thing? I wanted to make sure that I mentioned too that part of that accommodating, being accessible, blah, blah, blah factor has been that, as I've said, Zoom meetings on one end where we sit down on video, work through, do the whole thing, super integrated with one another, and all the way down to just messages swapped in Canvas, that sort of a thing. All of that's good, but it does come at a little bit of a cost, because with my trying to be super accommodating and have all the avenues open to you guys, it's a lot of tabs to be keeping track of, between all the people, all the projects, all the papers, all the different things. Despite all of the best intentions in the world and I do put really, really strong effort into making sure I'm attending to all those things, there's no doubt, right? Just from just knowing that I'm an airhead, to also just like cognitive science itself kind of tells us, like, it's all but certain I'm going to miss something in there. So between Canvas messages and emailing and chatting and phone conversations and Zoom meeting and carrier pigeon and you name it, it's all but certain that I am going to miss something along the way. So for just again, for what it's worth, I put it out there to mention, if you have sent me a question, if you've sent me an email or a chat or a text or anything, and for some reason you have not heard back from me, please don't be hesitant or bashful about just sort of cudgeling me over the head and being like, hey, dipshit, still here. Sometimes I just need that, because despite my best intention and best efforts, the last thing I want to do is miss something that's important, something like that. And of course, if I have missed it or haven't gotten back to you, please know it was absolutely not intentional, and I'm here, so just, yeah, let me know. Okay, so with all of that, I think that's really all I had. I'm certain there'll be other things that sort of crop up in mind after I get this out to you all, but those were the biggies. Just basically to touch base with all of you, to try and kind of give you this sense. If you didn't have a sense of urgency already, maybe we need to start thinking that way and finding again what are the actionable and practical next steps in moving along. And if you don't know what those things are, that's what I'm here for. So hopefully we can all kind of touch base, get you what you need, get these things moving, and you know where to find me via all these different avenues that ideally I'm going to get back to you on, right? All right. It's 4:30. It's Friday afternoon, so I hope you all have a really great weekend. And I'll be keeping tabs, keeping a lookout for messages and all of that. So we'll be in touch. Take care of yourselves, and yeah. Cheers.